All right, so it being 2 o'clock.
Introduction.
Sure, sounds good. All right, so we'll open our retreat. Welcome, everyone. And let's start by just going around the room and introducing ourselves. Mary Beth, you want to start?
Mary Beth Catholic. Carolyn Barron Thornton. No.
Yep.
Close enough.
Kristen Burley, the Student Services Administrator. Neil Torino, School Psychologist.
Kylie Capp, Technology Coordinator.
Todd Austin, Athletic Director and Assistant to the Principal.
Tony Torino Thornton.
Bernie Sullivan, Wentworth.
Sean O'Brien, Student Assistance Coordinator.
Kyle Reed, CT Director.
Bonnie Acton, Holderness.
Phil McCormick, Holderness.
Janice Prescott, Administrative Assistant to the Principal and School Board Secretary.
Sheila Donahue Campton.
Falciati Thornton.
Patty O'Neill, Holderness.
Lisa Ash, Plymouth.
Mark Everett, Director of Facilities.
Kyle Soma, Administrative Assistant for the Director of Facilities.
Janet Eccleston, Principal.
Kyla Welch, Superintendent. Nice to see everyone. Thank you. If you don't mind, for agenda review and disposition, Liza could not be here, so we'd like to move facilities up to the first discussion item because we have our facilities crew here that needs to get back to everything that they're doing. We have a lot going on. Randy isn't able to be here, so Janet will be covering the summer school piece in her report.
Great. Okay, take it away.
All right, so the first thing you have in front of you is your CIP, which is the Capital Improvement Plan. Does everybody have a copy of it? So this is kind of your 10-year scope of big projects, and this is something we talked a lot about during the budget process as what to budget for using end-of-year funds. We've gone round and round about how to finance these projects through bonds, through capital reserve, starting a capital reserve. So it's just something to look at as far as the maintenance of that building. Obviously, it's a pretty big building. It's an old building. When the projects are there, they're big. So I think you can see in the left-hand column, there's nothing that's an emergency right now. So you could be flexible with where we move certain projects out a year or two, but they are needs in there. So the lighting is a little hard, I apologize, but just at the top there to summarize, you have the science classrooms that have been there for a while. We've kind of pushed that out, and that's just changing out the cabinetry and the fixtures in those classrooms. Interior classroom doors replacement, that's out quite a bit. We've done that recently. Athletic training room upgrades, that is not an emergency, but something that can be revised and updated. Obviously, gym floor is more something that's on a cycle. Auditorium chairs and install light rails. Again, not something that's an emergency, but something that's in the future. As far as infrastructure inside the building, we have addressed a lot of the AC units. The only thing we have left for AC, and tell me if I'm wrong, are the science classrooms as far as that goes, and then we're getting the design work for that piece, correct?
The weight room, yes.
And the weight room, yeah. So we're almost there. We've covered a lot of it with ESSER. You did a lot of it last year, a lot of it this year. It did not include the whole revision that we did several years ago, right when COVID hit, when we were going to get the whole building plus the redesign of the locker room. You'll see the redesign of the locker room is not on there. At some point that should be updated, but it's not something that's urgent. We've fixed a lot of the drainage issues in there that we were having with the showers. So there's no urgency in the locker room either, correct? Okay. As far as the exterior, just nothing major. We're getting a quote on the roof. Everything else is kind of in good shape for the most part. And then Todd will review some of the athletic pieces that you can decide on as well. The high school so you'll see that the totals in the blue PRHS building total, that's just for facilities. out a couple of years, but again, you can change that number based on what you want to do. If you want to hit certain priority projects, Mark and Kyle can put a list together as far as what to hit first in each year. So if you want to put money aside into a cap reserve, pull it out, you can decide which projects to do when. Any questions on the facilities part of it before I go to technology? So under technology, networking, so those are just switches that need to be updated. As far as anything else in that line, and that's again cyclical based on end of life. Servers, same thing. Classroom technology, we typically put the classroom technology in the budget. That's not something that's typically a surprise. So that's anything from over the projectors to the student computers to the teacher computers. And remember, we give the Chromebooks to incoming freshmen. As they come up, they keep those computers for all 4 years, and then they take them as they go. And that's the way we've done it, because it has a short lifespan. And they're pretty cost effective. And then IT support, that's in your operating budget already, so that's nothing extra. And then as far as the exterior buildings, so the campus itself that Plymouth Regional High School has, you have the football tower. The football tower is in pretty good shape. It is what it is. I don't think it's going anywhere. But Todd, that's in pretty good shape for the most part.
Yeah, shape, yeah. Only upkeep we need really is paint.
Paint, yeah. The barn, let's see, am I on the right line here? So the barn has a new roof coming up in the next few years. Same with some rot repair. The Parks and Rec garage, which is a pretty new building, so you'll see that's out several years as far as maintenance and updating. The ski jump, looking out a few years to address the rot repair and staining, and then the pickleball courts resurfacing, that's out several years. So nothing too surprising on that list. A lot of it's part of your regular maintenance and repair stuff. But like I said, every time we get into, like, say, taking down the partition walls in the north wing, we have to remove asbestos. It's just costs so much because of the interior of that building. Anything else? Can you just update on how the summer work is done and kind of what's been done around the building?
Yeah, the new fire panel at the high school is completed.
Let's just give him the slide too.
Oh, there's a slide.
Yeah, there's a
Oh, here we go.
We just have to do this off the cuff.
So that's the
He was called in last minute. So.
That's the manifold outside for the propane tank farm, and it's to raise the line above where it was, which was in the ground and froze on us in January. So this is the fix to that.
Can you go up over the bullet list real quick as far as any?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
The Wi-Fi cameras to the football tower. You want to speak on that?
Yep, so we added some exterior cameras
Yeah.
to football tower and to the cap shack so that we can monitor people entering those buildings, and also a little bit on the exterior. You can see a little bit of the fields. We also added internet to the soccer field so that we could have a huddle cam out there so that we can get footage of our students for any sort of recruitment into college for sports.
We've been lacking with that piece because we had internet to the football field, and then we're just expanding it to that field because colleges are looking for footage, and there's no way except to replay streaming from Pemi-Baker TV, which isn't really the most up-to-date way to send to colleges.
And I will make a note that when we did that, we also added some pieces to it that will enable Dan and his wonderful camera crew and team to live stream games that were not able to be live streamed in that area before.
And the interior doors replaced in the north wing.
Yeah.
The walk-in refrigerator door in the high school kitchen. Vanities and CTE bathroom replaced. They were in poor condition. They weren't lasting. The material they were used was not holding up. So we went with a Corian type surface. Seating furniture. Let me speak
So
on
we
that.
added some furniture up. We noticed that in the third floor, on the CTE side, the top of the landing, we had students who were kind of sitting on the ground up there and doing their schoolwork or hanging out. So we bought some seating for them so that they can sit there a little bit more comfortably and do their work.
And in the entrance of the north wing. So just those common congregating areas, they were either standing in large clumps or quite honestly sitting on the dirty floor. So we're just trying to soften those spaces and give them a place to congregate if they choose. Yeah.
Back to furniture, I'll skip ahead. We also replaced 3 classrooms
That's right.
worth of desks and chairs this year. And we also added a new conference room table to student services that will better suit the needs of that room.
And then the panel boards we talked about at the end of the year, remember you approved all those funds, so that has been all completed, correct?
Antiquated electric panels, yes, they're all replaced. They just finished them last week.
So all the summer work is good and in place and school's ready to
Like I said,
open?
the manifold's all set. We relined the pipe and took care of the low bellies on the main pipe from the locker rooms, and the tile just went down last week. Our crew is working on refinishing, so that hallway's back in service.
You want to click to the next slide because I think there's some photos that gives you a little bit of a visual about what some of this work looks like and it's finished. The gym looks great. It always looks so great when we return.
And the Cat Shack has brought us a couple of issues. I'm sure Mr. Ciotti can speak to that, as he's in there cooking quite a bit. Knows that the floor was rot. There was a lot of rot in there that we've had to get replaced between the bathrooms, the floor. They just had a plywood floor in there. It was kind of soft and
Very soft.
a little sketchy, so that was fixed. And then obviously the gym resealed and the lift had its annual inspection.
The other upgrade to the shack is that the water sources have been upgraded and that we can port the water out now, and so we just approved the location. So now we'll be able to access water from the shack. Mr. Bruley will be able to fill up coolers behind the shack. So there's just a lot more accessibility to water back there.
Filtered water.
Than previously has been. So that's a huge upgrade for both our public and our athletic teams. So we're excited about that.
So it's a licensed now public well with the state, which requires annual testing, quarterly testing, annually testing. So
yeah, big upgrade down there. Yeah. The only thing I'll mention, we did upgrade the Student Services Conference Room. Most of those upgrades were funded through the IDEA Special Education Grant. It really upgraded not only their furniture, but really their technology in order for them to sometimes meet with families Zoom, show documents that tend to be confidentiality with some sense of security. And what's not on here, because it is a little bit of a surprise, is that we are planning to repurpose the conference room table that was on the 3rd floor, and Liza and Mark and Kyle and I are in the process of kind of just giving the custodial space like a facelift. New paint, new table, new space for them to eat and take a break. Some of them are 3rd shift custodians. They're there on the overnight. They just needed a little bit more of an upgraded space to just be when they're at work. So we're excited about that, and we'll kind of unveil that to the staff and to them when it's complete. But that's sort of a nice little surprise for them. Sort of also an incentive to help us hire custodial staff and keep custodial staff if we have a more inviting space for them to sort of exist in during breaks and work. So that was a nice use of that table. Yep. And then those are just some images. So we just wanted to sort of give you an idea of course, sort of where we went. It was a little bit of like a horror project, quite honestly, because the left side was the initial taping and sealing for the asbestos team to work. And then the demolition kind of came in. There was 2 of those big cuts in that tile in order to get to those 2 locker room drains so that it's piped all the way out. It went
2 weeks.
well. I mean, I hate to even say things like that because then tomorrow something won't go well, but it went surprisingly well. And then the middle photo is what it looks like today. So it was striking to walk downstairs yesterday. It's beautifully done. They're touching up the walls where, obviously projects nick and make a mark, but it really looks nice. And the other upgrade we did is this fire alarm systems school-wide. So we had, talk about end of life system, both the HVAC and this particular system in terms of safety. So those are all brand new. I wish I had a before and after for this one too,
No.
because like the old system out in that foyer.
1990.
1990. Those gentlemen were there, they were there every day.
For a month.
It was they were just the most polite, collegial, stuck to their work, I did meet with their project manager and just complimented him on their work, on the way they interacted. There's summer school students in the building, we're in the building. But when you come in the next time, it really is a striking difference. And they ran all the alarm settings and tests last week, and it's actually a different voice. Like my staff will know. Yeah, look at I was like, I wonder if I should say they recorded my voice. It's a much different,
I thought so right away.
upgraded voice. I can repeat the thing, but I won't. Please enter to the. But I feel very fortunate and very secure in that upgrade, and it was much needed. So very, very much appreciated for that work this summer. It was really good. It was a lot. And then that's sort of like what Liza just wanted us to represent, that she's not yet finished with. Well, but we know that, there's kind of like the standard things are still in progress. We have a few more weeks to go. The third floor, she always works top to bottom. Well, actually, she might not work top to bottom. She works third floor and then gets the bottom floor ready because the athletes are coming in, and once they're in, you can't get that clean again. So I think she's in a good space, and those are some of the things that she's focused on. So, yeah.
All right.
Left to be scheduled. Again, remember there are a few upgrades that we have now scheduled for lacrosse and soccer because we aren't proceeding with lights and turf and those kinds of things that we would have needed to wait. So now between the huddle camera and we are going to repair that whole fencing out there so that we don't lose as many soccer balls as we've lost in the last few years. The annual inspection of the fire alarm is obviously just an annual thing, and then the elevator inspection. Remember, we did have a little trouble with one of our elevators, so that will make sure that we're on track for that. Yeah. Lots of work. Thank you for everything. It was a lot. It's always a lot during the summer when you start, but it was good. Job well done.
Any questions for Mark or Kyle on building facilities?
I have a question. First, I want to say thank you for all that you've done. This is fantastic. I wondered who, is it the state that comes in and checks the water quarterly, or do we have somebody who does that?
We have Jack Evans, our vendor.
Yeah.
He's a certified New Hampshire water
I'm
sample.
friends with Jack.
Yeah, so Jack pulls the samples, takes them to Concord, and we get them, the test is actually completed at the state DES.
Okay. Thanks.
And thanks for updating this. This is great, so we can put some money aside and have it to
Or see which ones to do
I
first.
should have quotes by tomorrow. So I'll add those in there.
get some money in the budget for that. That sounds great.
Very good. So we're going to take a break right now because there's tons of food out here for you to get before we start the rest of the reports. It's going to be pretty long, so stock up.
My team does not have to stand. I'm just letting you know. They're not standing. I'm just going to get started so that Dan's not filming the back of my head. This presentation will look very similar to what we did last year. I think it's always good to do something at least more than once to work out the kinks and see how it's working for you guys. But really, we're going to take you through the school year from start to finish, and really we usually start with the school board goals. Last year I gave you some considerations regarding those goals, and we did change goal number 2, and when I get to that I'll just remind you of that. Goal number 1 is the goal that we decided not to change. I would like you to consider a revision based on the data I'm going to show you this year, but again, whatever's comfortable. But these are your current 24-25 school board goals, and we'll kind of go through them in the next few slides. So the first goal is related to that SAT data. Currently, we've been looking for, obviously, an increase in percentage of kids reaching that proficiency level. For years, since the data is going to show you back from 2022, we have been exceeding the state, and in most years exceeding the global percentages of proficiency. So a huge win for Plymouth Regional High School. It continues to be a good data point for us in terms of educational success. So that is, that graph right there takes math and the English reading writing together in proficiencies. So for this year, we reached 36% proficiency of kids reaching it in both. The state was 30, the global was 28. It's a little bit down, as you can see, but we're holding strong in terms of kids who can meet it in both areas, which for 11th graders, you know, meeting it in both, you typically have kids that are a little bit stronger in one area. They're either math kids or language arts kids, but we would like that to get, you know, back up to that 40-42%, but again, that's where we're at for this year.
And remember that the SAT is the new state test, so it's only within the past few years that all kids are taking SATs. Remember, it used to just be the kids that thought they were going to move on to four-year schools or needed them to get into college, but now it's all kids are taking that as the state assessment.
Interestingly enough, though, you'll see that data. It is the state, and Kyla's right, but certainly since COVID, test optional has also become an influencer. So, you know, there's a lot of influencers when you're trying to run data. And that definitely we've noticed, I would say, student services and in school counseling offices, test optional schools have played a little bit into that. Question, yeah?
Janet, what is, global represents what?
All kids in the nation who have taken the SAT in that year.
Okay, so it's really national.
National,
Okay.
yep. Other questions before I move on? In the next slide, you'll see it broken out into math and language arts. I'll start with the clear winner is the reading, writing, language arts. This year, we're out in front of where we've ever been. In that low blue number, 72% kids reach proficiency according to that assessment. So that is a huge win, something to be very celebrated. The state is also doing well, 66%. But again, this year was the highest you've seen since 2022. Again, math here in New Hampshire, in the state and nationally, still is sort of creeping back. Lots of loss of instruction from COVID. Still sort of seeing that data play itself out a little bit. Again, you know, math just tends to lag a little bit. Not a whole lot of direct intervention, not a whole lot of research-based, lots of research, lots of money. Title I has been in a reading. So districts at a state level and a local level, we have tried to up the ante here with math, but again, that is still data that we do need to dive a little bit deeper in to see what are some of those skills holding kids back a little bit. So given that data, and if you go back to the school board goal slide, you've wanted us to increase it by 3%. It's just going to be harder and harder to do in language arts because we're going to plateau at some point. You know, 72%, we'd be asking kids, you know, at the high school to reach at that 75%. So again, I guess my thought is to revise that goal so that we're exceeding the state average, continuing to exceed the state average. Maybe by a certain percentage, but rather than looking for a 3% growth every year, again, when I get to the science data, you're going to see we're far exceeding, we're doing exceptionally well, but the language around the 3% increase is a little it's tricky language to maintain over time once you reach a pretty high threshold. So we can come back to that, but if you're taking notes, we're going to come back to that consideration. Phil?
The math, that's tradition almost, you know, in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
The math has been horrible forever.
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't seem to be enough. And I don't really think the school board has a significant role to play in it, but just to annually look at the results and say, oh, well, a little better than 1 out of 3 kids is proficient. What is the action plan, measurable action plan that will actually, we can implement and chart progress to enhance, show more growth?
In math?
Yeah.
Yeah, so so last year we took that math data, we went to the math department, and you see, we did disaggregate that data at a math department level. We also, at a district level, we've done a lot of alignment between the K-8 system, particularly in math. We've held a lot of alignment meetings this year from middle school, so 6th, 7th, 8th. We gotta get 6th, 7th, 8th graders on board, teachers on board too. So Dana Andrews is in charge of the math committee at the district level. So they have moved to a common assessment. So all kids in middle schools are giving us common data. That's new for this year. We just accepted all of that data for our incoming 9th graders. And so we're working on a 6 to 12 action plan, because sometimes it's too late. It's harder to catch them up in just 2 years of instruction than in 5 years of instruction. So I think the answer to it is just more vertical alignment. And what we've done seems to have worked, because we're at 37 last year, 37 this year. So we've maintained based on that action over 1 year of time.
Dan, can you show that slide for the viewers or somebody? Okay, great.
Oh.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect.
Does that answer your question?
Great.
Yes, and the test that you mentioned that.
The common assessment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Criterion reference?
It's an Ames Web, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes. Yeah.
And I think, as chair of the curriculum teaching and learning, it would be good to see periodically, maybe a semester basis, to see what result. But I know it's not just high school performance, it's what's happened in the elementary schools also. There is, like I said, it's been going on for years.
Yeah, and we try to avoid that point the finger
Oh,
model,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, no,
so we
no,
just
no.
want to say, these are the kids in 6th grade, these are the kids in 7th grade.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Dina's done a really great,
Yeah.
nice job with that approach. So that when they get there, when they get to us, we have a little bit of a common understanding about where they're at. It also has influenced our course request conversations so that kids are in the right math class.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So that's been helpful. So again, the question we'll circle back to is the consideration to continue, leave it at, we'll try to get 3% better every year, or we'll move to, we will continue to exceed state proficiency levels. That's your consideration. Okay. This is the science data. Again, big wins for science. We've done some incentives with science because it's really sometimes tricky to have 11th graders buy into one final assessment based on your science career. Really doesn't have a lot of teeth at a kid level, but certainly at a school level, it is one of the state tests that we are held accountable for and is reported out for us. So we had 59% proficiency, so if you're looking at the green and the blue together, those are kids that scored a 3 in the middle, and those are 11 kids that scored proficient and beyond. Last year we did have that perfect score. This year we awarded it to the highest achieving 11th grader, which was well received. So again, big wins for science. The science department has been part of that. They have helped proctor, they have dove into data, and they have done practice test questions with kids. All I think has really helped kind of get us back on, a little bit back on track with the science assessment.
But 20 points in 2 years is huge for growth in that area.
It makes a difference when your science teacher's in the room when you're taking the science test. Yeah, so big wins, congratulations to them. They're very proud of this. And we over-celebrated it just because we want to maintain that engagement with this assessment.
Engagement is hard with this because kids don't really get anything out of it. With an SAT, it helps them possibly into admissions, but with this science test, it's a one-time done. You get a lot of opt-out kids as well.
And they haven't tested since 8th grade, and now they're in 11th grade. That's a big chunk of time. A lot has changed in their lives since they've even looked at this platform that test is on. So You know, it's a whole different scene. But congratulations to them, they did a nice job. So this is the school board goal that we revised last year. I'll just remind you, previously this goal had just been looking at 9th and 10th graders. And so when I came on board, it was just sort of trying to wrap my head around that data point. We decided to move to looking at kids in a cohort. So looking at kids and following them from 9th grade to 12th grade, and hoping that as they come in and leave us, their failure rate is declining, right? And so you can see that the graduating class of 2025 did exactly what we wanted them to do. By the time they graduated with which is the green, they were only failing 8.28% of courses. You'll see in those middle years, they're not going in the direction we want them to go. But again, remember, sophomore and junior years are the times where we expect the most academic rigor. So we are going to look at that data. We go away next week to our administrative retreat. We're going to look to see, number one, what courses seem to be the most reoccurring, and just break down that data. What we're doing right now is we're really going to, obviously, we really haven't had this coming year is really like our collection year. So our freshmen failed 15%, failed one or more class. So it'll be interesting to see what our effects of summer school and just what our talk about this data point do for us in the coming years. And then, kind of go back and look at our sophomore and junior classes. They're not, they're not lopsided terribly, but that junior class, they're going in they're not where we want them to be, for sure. Too many of them, they're at 24% failed one or more class in this past school year. So that's where we're at, but again, it does give us the first time we're looking at cohorts of kids. Make sense? Questions? Okay. This is a huge celebratory win. This is AP. So the blue is us, and we are, again, it's the same graph, just in a different look. The red is New Hampshire, the yellow is national. We are exceeding, well above exceeding in our AP scores. So again, AP teachers really sweat the weather with delays and snow days and assemblies. We try to be very cognizant of instructional time, and it certainly seems to be paying off. So again, congratulations to them. We'll continue to look at that. Questions about AP? Yeah.
Do we have an AP biology, or are we just?
We do. That's a little dip on the radar. Yep. Yeah. And that's a dip comparatively. So that'll be something that we go back and look at. Yeah. We're considering moving to offer AP Chem if we have the opportunity in the coming school year. So we're going to examine that opportunity as well to add one.
Yeah, the participation in the exam is volunteer. In other
Continues
words,
to be.
Not every student
Not every
takes
student.
an AP class.
Nope. Correct. Yep. Yep.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think at this point it should continue to be voluntary. Yeah. I just think sometimes kids are taking it for the content. Some kids are taking it for the multiplier. Some kids are taking it for the college entrance. I think in our setting, kids are taking AP for a variety of reasons. And my worry would be that if I mandated the test, I'd have less participation in that course. And I don't know if I want to do that. So that's the other side of that conversation. Yeah. I will say that teachers and school counselors for sure encourage. It's no loss to take it. You just don't get your reimbursement if you don't 3 or higher. But again, I would say that by and large we encourage it. There's no reason not to unless it's not something we want reported. So good question though. I know it's been talked about. Yeah. Yes, question.
I see the foreign languages did very well.
Yes.
So we didn't take a hit with the Spanish problem that we had. I mean,
Well, not at
Typically.
AP. Yeah.
So do we know by looking at this chart how many did participate in that particular group? Is it just-
Yeah, I think that is the number, is
First number is us.
the first number is us, so that's like terribly, so we only had one kid take the AP Spanish exam, yeah.
Great.
We did, yeah, we didn't offer AP Spanish in person though as a result of that. So that number is a little bit skewed in your data, yeah. Yeah. Other questions? At the end, I'll print this slideshow for you, and then you can have a copy, and then you can read the marginally smaller numbers on the screen a little bit better. But if you do want me to answer how many, if you're interested in how many kids took a particular exam, I can read it for you. But the first number when you get it is the number of participants. I would say just for an example on that topic, so if I look at AP US History, Phil, 22 kids took it. I would guess that there was a section of 24 kids, you know what I mean? So most
So
kids
most-
in those bigger content are taking, AP Physics, I don't know if that's 15 or 16, but like I would say there's probably 18 to 20 kids in that section. So we're not losing a whole lot of kids to non-testers. Yeah. Okay, great. This is just a summary of the graduation class of 2025. Oftentimes you've been interested in that. At the May board meeting, I invited you to walk down by school counseling, kind of look at the varying locations of where they're going. But this is just a summary of our postgraduates. Mostly, I kind of wanted to call your attention to the Plymouth State number because that's a huge number for this class, and I think it's an exciting number. I think it's good for the community. It's good for the kids. Plymouth State is still, offering kids a lot of opportunities here. We had 37 kids look out of state of the 4-year. We had 8 look in another state. The New Hampshire CTE is that New Hampshire Community College number, so 20. Keene State is taking 4. And obviously you can read on to read it too, but I just wanted to highlight a few numbers for you. Up at the top are kids that graduate from our special education program. Our highest are, if they left us at 21 or they left us at 22 or however, they're obviously invited to stay as long as they want, but those certificate of attendance are special ed. And then our GED, Janice runs our HiSET test. So more and more we're having some kids take that opportunity because they want to kind of get going. When the data was pulled, it was 4. I think it was actually a few more than that, but.
And the armed forces is higher.
And the armed forces is high for us this year. Yeah, we did recognize them a number of times during our senior week and graduation opportunities, and yeah, and varied forces. Like we kind of had a nice gamut of representation. So yeah, it was a strong class. It was a big class, but yeah, that's them right there.
Is Plymouth State with a certain concentration, like nursing, health sciences?
I would say health science is probably a little high. Yeah, I think there's some PT. There's some kids are doing the health science because they have aspirations of pre-med or beyond that. Yeah, physical therapy. They're doing a nice job over there with that. Yeah.
Such a savings for a lot of
It's
them.
just it's a financial, it's a smart choice.
And has that been an intentional partnership?
No, and I would say that it's not intentional, and I think that if I'm looking at my veterans, that's a high number for us, right? Yeah. Okay. So, I think kids are just more and more thinking about cost. Finance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to be in the local community. Yeah.
What they're going to get out of it.
Yeah. And where they're going to go with it. I think, and the school counseling office is just doing a great job of getting kids to see beyond the front of their nose. Which is hard to do in high school sometimes. Yeah. So that's them. I just wanted to give you that little snapshot again. We're proud of them. It was a fun class to start with. Summer school. So, there's just so many people to thank. We, in the last few years during the summer, by being in the school, I observed summer school. This year we did Student services, student support team runs a weekly meeting, and freshmen were discussed a lot. And we collectively, between school counseling and myself and a lot of the admin team decided, I kind of decided that I wanted to go back to in-person teaching for summer school. Previously, kids had been recovering credit mostly online modules with teacher support. And we just decided that, in fairness to the students and to the teachers themselves, I think some teaching. So we created these benchmarks, and we hired some teachers that were interested in some in-person learning. We also, thanks to Kyle and Sean and our fleet of vehicles, we were able to offer some transportation to freshmen, which was really a game changer. Oftentimes, they're the ones that aren't driving yet, and parents are working, and getting to summer school and doing school in the summer was just not an option. So we organized it in 2 weeks. We had English going on weeks 1 and 2. Weeks 3 and 4, we had social studies and science going on, and weeks 4 and 5, we had math going on. 8 to 11, kids are in the classroom with one or most often 2 teachers. So Gavin Brickley and Georgie Boyd kicked us off in weeks 1 and 2, and then Mrs. Crystal Kennedy and Jesse Elderkin as the support teacher are in charge of 3 and 4. Gavin's sort of around. Gavin's always around. And then Michelle Charland is down with us for math, and again, Jesse is the support. If the students who needed the recovery ended their year between 50 and 59, they came for 1 week. If they scored with between a 40 and 49, they came for 2. And if they did not reach that 40%, then we plan to re-enroll them for next year. So that was the overall model. That was an enormous shift. And we couldn't be more excited about the results. So if you go to the next slide, oh, maybe it's not. So these are, yeah, so I'll talk about the success first. So really, we had amazing attendance, and I think mostly because of the communication and the transportation. 93% of our freshmen came, and we had 14 out of 15 recover that credit. 100% of our kids came for the geography. That was 8 out of 8. Biology is still in progress, and I can report back to you at the first board meeting, and math, again, has just begun. But, if you go back to the previous slide, really, we wanted to instill some habits. Some kids, it was getting to school. Some kids, it was doing school. Some kids, it was a combination of both. And I just can't thank, I told my team yesterday, the MVPs of 2024-25 are now my summer school staff, because the relationships we built, the redesign of the work was a huge win. The students themselves have said things are going to be different next year, things that they recognize as barriers. So I just really want to thank all of them. I will say that Randy, unfortunately, is not here, but he was really the summer school. He kind of turned into the summer school administrator. And in Randy fashion, he provided a lot of vegetables from the farm stands and treats in the afternoon. But it's those like soft skills and those like personalizations that were really just a huge win, and it made it fun. He loved it as much as some of them have never had cucumbers and basil salad and all the things he did. But it's like something, it's why we love Randy. And it's why the kids respond, and it's really about the relationships. So I just can't thank them enough. We will continue, our hope, this group of people is certainly on board. We hope that, given that we're going to look at cohorts of kids, right, we're trying to tie this work back to our goals, that we would roll this model up and invite freshmen and sophomores in to recover credit in person, and leave the credit recovery online for our juniors. And really start to, have that in-person experience. I'll have to recruit a few more teachers and buy a few more cucumbers, but I think that's doable. So big win for summer school. If you see Randy, let him know. Questions?
It sounds great, and I'm glad that it's in person, because I think that's so important. The students that are under 40%, are they offered the opportunity to go to work on the study skills and some of the content, or are they're just going to repeat and
Yeah, well, thankfully we didn't have very many. And I think it's a case by case, because it's not all the same reason. So I think we, as a student support team, which includes like sort of their whole team, we will kind of look diagnostically at those kids.
And Brenda, it's not always the same percentage. A 39, is different than a 12. Right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's an individual.
It's fine, yeah. But we know who they are now.
Oh, yes.
And we know what's up. And there's very few, which is such a win. I mean, really, but it is an individual situation. But great question. Yeah. Great. This was the upperclassmen study hall, upperclassmen summer school. We just maintained it, right? It was something that we knew how to do. We've had great success with summer school. So summer school for upperclassmen, it runs from July 7th through August 7th. It's open enrollment. Kids come when they can. Sometimes they go to work and they come. Sometimes they come and they go to work. So Crystal Kennedy is again in charge of this. Currently, again, it's still in session, but we have 75 eligible credits to be earned, 50 students eligible, and what we're trying to do is recoup all those credits. So right now we're at 52, 36 students have completed their summer school. So again, those numbers will shift, and I'll give you final numbers in August at that first board meeting. But again, those are solid numbers. The kids are getting a lot of work done, and Crystal's managing all of this. Questions, or can we move on to summer school? Okay. The next slide is pretty self-explanatory. You're familiar with the budget process. There's a lot of input, there's a lot of conversation. It's just really a graph to say that we have continued to meet that goal of 3%. So I just want to continue to offer you that picture. And then the dropout rate, less than 1%. We do end at 0, and again, it's not, it's not to say that we don't have struggling learners, right? We're not here to say that. But what we are here to say is that we provide a lot of alternative paths so that kids can leave and be successful, whether it be work, whether it be military, whether it be post-secondary opportunities. So these are our main ways that students exit us, and that we do try, I will say the school counseling office has really taught me a lot. We do try to dot every I and cross every T with our seniors. We do try to not let anyone slip away. At the very least, we offer them that high set. Sometimes if we're not sure, there's a team conversation. Janice runs the pre-test. We allow them to take it. Sometimes we help them if there's a particular area of deficit. We do try. If school, in its traditional sense, is just not the right fit at that time, we do try to give them a path to end with a way to move on. So those are the few. Some kids do sign up to homeschool. Obviously that's their choice, and then they kind of fall off of our radar and our responsibility. Questions? School board goal 5 is just to maintain and increase that communication. I left the top, it's not as clear as I wanted to. The bottom 4 are the highlighted, the bolded that we've sort of thought about increasing, or ones that we've sort of made some intention around. So things like obviously school board meetings and messages, that's what we're doing. But one thing we are looking forward to this year is the opportunity to combine open house and parent-teacher conference night. They have been separate in the years past. This year we're hoping to just open up the school. Kylie and I are going to work on having parents schedule parent-teacher conferences so that you don't have to stand in a line with every teacher if you don't need to see every teacher. We really want the parent to be strategic about seeing the math teacher because you want to see the math teacher. So hopefully that will, I'm also working with Tartaglia to get a food truck there. Opportunity to get food, to get a lot more people. So we're excited about that. I'll give you more details in August when we firm up those details. It will run the same time. But we're really hoping to put teachers back in their classrooms so that parents can see the building and check off that open house. We're hoping to highlight some culinary kids with some additional food. We haven't worked out all those details yet, but I'll keep you informed. Tennille and Sean and the buddies, and we've really tried to make Move Up Night better and better and better. We've taken a lot of feedback over the years about Move Up Night. You know, there was one time we thought, do we have to do this? And then the amount of people that come and how much they love Move Up Night is not coming off the calendar anytime soon. Parents of those 9th graders, I think it's because they're in those K-8 buildings so long. They just want to get their feet in the high school. So again, I leave it up there just because it morphs every year based on the feedback we get. Kristen and Danae and Julie Fogarty have run almost like their own for kids of disabilities and need a little extra. It's become very student-led. I mean, it's like a whole event. So I just leave it up there because it's a big deal for the community. Summer school was obviously something that we worked really hard to communicate about. We gave parents a big heads up about what summer school was going to look like well before it happened. So that was a huge win. And then when we get to athletics, Todd's going to unveil the Go Bobcats app, which again has been a result of feedback we've gotten. Less and less are people accessing websites, obviously. More and more are people accessing apps, and we hadn't yet moved in that direction. And this app is not only going to help athletics, we have an opportunity to include what's called a Bobcat Den and give people a little bit more handheld access to other information. So we'll share that with you when we get there. So those are the goals. I don't want to move on until we circle back to goal 1 with SAT data. You know, really leaving it at that 3% increase or shifting that to exceed state average consistently in math, reading, and science. That's the consideration I'd like to discuss.
So I think Janet would like to move
I would like to move
proficiency
to proficiencies above the state average.
Is everybody okay
I
with
think
that?
that makes sense. It makes sense to me to do that.
Is there some type of a compromise, especially in math? It just seems as though if you don't have a higher expectation, you're never going to get there. And
Yeah, because you're presumably thinking that the state has to increase for us to increase, and we're kind of, yeah.
That's right, and the state's horrible. I mean, again, not this year, it has been. But I just feel as though by diminishing what we're expecting of kids, that when, you know, if the state stays at 35%, or hell, if we're 36, then we're doing great things, but we're not.
And again, I'm comfortable as long as we understand that at some point we're going to plateau with the data at 3%.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm happy if that makes more sense as we bring math along. I just want to make sure we have an understanding that we won't always reach that goal once the data gets too high, right? Which is fine. It's only really this room that has to agree on the optics of that.
If you're at 98% one year,
Right.
and you move to 100% the next year,
Okay, then we'll
you
change
have
the
failed,
goal.
right?
Right.
So I agree that,
Yeah.
that's probably not the right metric. I think I agree with Phil though that we probably have to think a little bit about what we're trying to achieve here. I am similarly of a mind that just saying we have to be in the top half better than the rest of the state is maybe a low bar to set, because you look at the historical data and we're there every time. And I likewise would like to give the staff, the administrators, and the students something to work hard on. That said, like 100% okay taking the 3% number and saying like, that's not useful if it's not useful. So I think there's something else, and I think we just have to think about like what are we trying to achieve. And it strikes me listening to everybody talk that perhaps the thing we're really trying to focus on is getting achievement back to where it was 5 years ago before COVID. And if we're gonna craft a goal that comes up with some kind of an increase or some kind of an achievement metric, that incorporating that objective into it would probably get us the results we're looking for, if that's what we're trying to achieve. So. I'm sorry that I don't have wording for the objective. But,
That's okay.
but that's what I think.
I can work on it and bring it back to you at the August 19th meeting, which is totally fine.
Let's do that.
I can tweak it a little bit with all of those thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was another graph like this that had the aggregate, and this is the broken out one.
Mm-hmm.
It strikes me that you hit the number, like it's 3% better than last year.
Right, I know.
So.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure everybody knows it's 3% better than last year.
Yeah.
But that's
That's
yeah, in
them
the
all the
aggregate.
time.
That's in the aggregate,
Yeah,
right? That's
right,
not
right.
final. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we'll wordsmith it a bit and then propose
yeah,
something.
we can bounce it around next week at retreat too, and then we'll come back at the 19th with a.
Good. And all the other goals
All the other
remain
goals.
consistent, unless I hear otherwise.
Yeah, I would also point out, sorry I'm using too many words today, I would point out that we often, during budget season, find the goals at odds with each other. I think we had some discussion a couple years ago where we sent you back to the drawing board a couple of, that was Bruce's last budget, I think it was. And we sent you back to the drawing board a couple of times, and you came back and told us, like, it might be a science teacher that we can't hire if you're gonna push on this. And if you look at like if that's a math teacher and you look at these numbers and you're seeing math lag, then you've got a really hard choice to make about which goal is more important. And I think giving some guidance to the administration about how to prioritize those two things is going to be important.
And I think, just to speak to the budget a little bit, because there's a lot of unknowns in the budget this year. There's open enrollment has passed and school choice has passed, and there is a huge budget implication that's unknown to me at this point. So if there's an open enrollment school, say Interlakes becomes open enrollment, and I have 4 Plymouth High School kids that decide to go there, even though Plymouth Regional High School is not an open enrollment school yet, we have to, the Pemi-Baker district has to pay 80% of that cost per pupil plus special ed cost, no questions asked. So I have that is part of the requirement this year, is to add that into our budget, is a budget line for open enrollment. We have no guidance on it yet, it was just signed by the governor a few weeks ago. But the more I can kind of stay consistent this year and then kind of see where we're at, and Dan can come in and say, okay, here's all the new requirements that you have to put into the public school system, I think we could be more realistic next year as far as what that percentage could be without doing this.
I think also having a benchmark, whether it be 3, 5, whatever it may be, if we're up against it and the numbers are such that we can't stay within, we can't reach that goal, that gives us a position to push back to the legislature to say, hey, this wasn't going to work and now we can see it's not working. So I think to have whatever that benchmark is, I think is important.
Yeah. Great.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're on
I think I'm done. Kyle and I are gonna tag team this part of it.
Okay.
Probably done listening to me go.
So the instructional coordinator team, which this year was Janet and I, ran it with 4 teachers. 4 teachers. This is the forward-facing platform that's online. It's called the EduPlanet Curriculum Blueprint. And so it kind of replaces our old school program of studies, which is this lengthy document that shows all the classes, the prerequisites, everything. And it kind of makes it a little bit more user-friendly. So I can click into it.
And I think most of you have seen this. Remember, we
Yeah.
did a little presentation
You
as
guys see
it was
this?
starting.
Yeah, because the instructional course came to a board meeting, yeah.
Do you want me to go into it?
No, I mean, I don't think we have to go down into the weeds of it. What I just want you to do is start to recognize it, because we're going to try to put it out public facing more, even though it's being developed. If you just click into it, can you click into a department at all? No, if you cannot, it's okay. Anyways, when you can click into it, and it's a little tricky because you have to log in, you have to have your login open. Parents and students really will be able to see what courses are offered in the department, what courses are offered in what grades, a description of the course, and then the work that the teachers are doing, which Ina and Troy alluded to, is sort of giving you a little bit of a roadmap in that course that's reader friendly. We've made a decision to not jargon it up for people if this is going to be the public facing side of it. So they're creating what's called storyboards, which is nothing other than readable units of study that you would obviously cover in an Algebra 1 course, so that parents can get a little bit of insight, kids can get particularly when you get to the electives, you know, kids aren't, I don't think they're really invested in what the units of Algebra 1 are because everyone has to take it, but they're certainly interested in what drafting is, or what, you know, art is, or things like that. So we're really trying to give them that scope and sequence. This will live on the website under for students and for parents. We haven't decided that, but I'll keep you updated on where we go with this. But again, I just wanted you to continue to have that image in your head, and it's kind of where we're going. And then tied to that, each summer, Pam and I have worked closely on the opportunity to offer a summer institute for teachers. So this is a 3-day, again, a 3-day opportunity for them to come in and do this work.
Grant funded. Yeah.
All grant funded. The participation has increased over the time because really the feedback is that it's uninterrupted. We offer those delayed openings, we offer those 2 in-service days during the year, but really, even on a delayed opening, they have prep to think about, they have kids coming in the door to think about, we have to make sure that someone's out for buses, so an hour and a half, 2 hours becomes an hour and a half real quick. So we are thinking about that feedback. We've heard that feedback 3 years now. There's kind of a rule of thumb, and if I've heard it 3 times, I'm gonna put it in my pocket and do something about it. So we're thinking about that in some calendar conversations. But I just wanted to give you this visual image. We focused this year on that vision of a graduate. Remember, we're in a 10-year NEASC accreditation cycle. We're about halfway. So again, we will need to report back on how the progress we've made on the growth plan, the vision of a graduate, and our collaborative structures. And sort of this is sort of just like one of those pieces of evidence that we're working on. This was a real win for us, so I'll just quickly summarize what you're seeing here. I kind of went back to like an old school teacher professional development model and put PRIDE around the room. Teachers came with, in their courses, how they're incorporating that vision of a graduate into an assessment. So, you know, the pink might have been like the biology teachers and the green, so on and so forth. And so they talked about their course, they talked about the assessment, and they talked about how they're meeting that particular vision of the graduate. So this is just an image of that collaborative work. So again, huge win. Teachers give us great feedback, grant funded. We'll continue to offer it as long as we can.
As long as we get grants.
As long as we get grants. It remains to be seen. 2 years away. Okay, CTE.
All right, on the tables are some lanyards and some pens. The secretaries are more than welcome to take this kind of swag to promote our program, so feel free. So this year in CTE, we had 420 students enrolled in our 7 different programs. 41 were in 2 or more of the courses, which was pretty awesome. I actually had a couple students that were in 3, which is kind of incredible. This year we got 2 brand new vans that were grant funded that are dedicated just for CTE. One is an all-wheel drive van for our outdoor recreation leadership program because they're going out in the snow and the wilderness. And the other van is dedicated to the health science program for their clinicals on the weekends. So
Also grant funded.
also grant funded, both were grant funded. The 3 big things in CTE are work-based learning, IRCs, and early college. So work-based learning is getting the kids out into industry, working with industry folks. IRCs are industry recognized credentials. So my push for CTE is to every student that leaves our program leaves with a certificate of some kind. So I have a list of all the IRCs that are offered within our programs. It's kind of small. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. And this is always changing depending on what is the need in the industry for those. And every fall and spring we have what's called a program advisory committee, and we have industry partners come in and speak with our instructors and talk about what are the things that they see of what the students need when they leave PRHS. So these are the industry recognized credentials that that we've done. And then the other one is early college. So there's two different parts of this. Is an articulation agreement. An articulation agreement is when a student takes a certain course in high school. If they go to that college that you have an articulation agreement with, that college will accept that course. Early college is when a student takes that course in high school. They can take those credits to whatever college they go to. So my push is to really connect with all the CCS&H organizations around the state and get early college for all of our programs so that when kids leave, they have college credits under the belt. Right now, kids that leave the drafting program that finish leave with 9 credits. Culinary can leave with up to 15. Health science leaves with 8. So we're trying to increase that number so it kind of takes the financial burden off the students when they get to college. So these are the colleges, and this is changing. Automotive, we did have a relationship with the University of Northwestern Ohio. We're trying to shift that over to LRCC, Lakes Region Community College. Culinary arts, you can see all the possible credits there. Drafting has 3, and most of them are connected with a CCS&H organization. The one that is tricky is our outdoor recreation leadership program because the CCS&H schools do not have outdoor recreation leadership. So I'm trying to make connection with PSU because they have an adventure ed. So, any questions on work-based learning?
Well, just real quick on CSNH is Community College System of New Hampshire, so that's any of the community colleges. They also have a consortium agreement with Keene, Plymouth, and UNH. So if kids are taking classes at NHTI, it's automatically transferred in to any of those schools or any of the community colleges. So we have many kids going for engineering at NHTI and then going to UNH junior, senior year. And the NHTI cost is $230 a credit or something, much lower than tuition, so, in most places.
And the really nice thing about the early college is if it's through a CCS&H organization, the students can take 2 courses for free per year.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
On our website, we created this gear website that's through our athletic page where you can buy CTE gear. All the promotions will go back to the students. We did, thanks to Dan Salzer, we created a promotional video. I'm not going to play it for you because it's long, but it's great. It just kind of goes through all of our programs. You also have a walkthrough video that shows, our spaces. And the idea is I want to put these on our website, which are already there. So when students in 8th grade are looking at what's at the high school, they can walk through our programs and say, oh, I'm really interested in culinary, really interested in whatever the programs are. Perkins is our federal funding that we get for CTE. It's down 17% from last year. So we're just going to have to work with that. One thing that I talked about last year at our board retreat was this Astra Room program, and I had a student that was an ELO student that actually did this for us. I want to show you a preview of what that looks like. So this is our automotive space, and so what it basically does is it creates a dollhouse of our space, and you can walk through it, and you can see the space. And the idea behind this is that if a student or a parent wants to see what we have, they can go right to this and they can walk through the spaces. They say, oh wow, we have all this space in automotive. I'm really interested in automotive, so maybe I'll take that. So it's just more information for the parents or students. A really cool, exciting opportunity happening this fall is we're connecting with Lakes Region Community College. We're going to be offering an associate teacher certification. So at night, there's going to be a professor from LRCC that's coming up to Plymouth. And if the students enroll in it, they can take 4 courses for free, and they can leave with 10 credits under their belt and an associate's teacher certification.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it's coming from that real shortage of childcare, daycare, early childhood that we're seeing in this area too.
Yeah.
So just getting some of our recent grads and current students involved.
And it's available for 11th, 12th, and recent graduates, she said. So I think it'll be starting in October. We're kind of the pilot school with LRCC, so trying to work out the kinks of 1 night a week, 2 nights a week, how long the course is, but there are 4 courses totally for free. So great opportunity. I've already had six students reach out to me interested in the program. The trouble that I see is with sports, trying to figure out how we're going to do that with sports. But great opportunity. And the last thing that we're going to try, that I put in the Perkins budget for this year, is we're going to get involved in what's called Skills USA. Skills USA is this career technical student organization where groups of students will get together after school and they have projects and they actually go and compete. So I'd really like to see that with our autos, drafting, and TV and media, because we have CTSOs for all of our other programs. We just don't have it for those 3, so I'm trying to build that up with them. And that link over on the right, that QR code, is the Instagram page. I post things on it, pictures, flyers, stuff like that.
Nice job.
Any questions about CTE?
I think it's fantastic.
Great job.
Another part is the ELOs, so extended learning opportunities. My big push was to kind of get more students doing these ELOs. In 23-24, we had 21. At the start of last year, we had 17. The final numbers at the end of the year were 28. Some of the fields that we had last year where students were doing internships. We had a bunch of K through 8 education, a couple in electrical apprenticeships, athletic training, design, architecture, firefighter, so a whole range of careers. And then we had a showcase in the spring where the students had trifles. They talked about their experience. This year I have tentatively scheduled 33 students that showed interest. I hope to make that number bigger. My big push this year is to get more community partners. Mid-State has been huge as a community partner, getting our nursing students out there. I made a great connection in the spring with New Hampshire Electric Co-op. I have a student that's going out to do an internship in lineman work in January, and they have anything from IT to automotive to all sorts of things that they're interested in for internships for our kids. So it's just making those connections that's really important.
Well, I think the board has been confronted with this a few times as far as CTE programs. Why can't you bring back the building trades? Why don't you have a plumbing and heating? Why don't you have electrical? Well, instead of spending all that money on a hub, we're allowed to, by statute, to send kids out to the field. See if they like it, see if they want to be in it, gain the skills, start collecting apprenticeship hours with community partners. And it sets them up with people in our own communities. And and a lot of times, I know at the ELO showcase, we get kids that say, boy, I worked at PES with kids and I do not want to do that, you know? And here all along, they thought they wanted to go be an elementary school teacher, and it's you know, they shifted gears, which is okay. But I think it really has helped with decision making and gain credits without having the whole program out of the high school.
I had a student last year, he had an internship in my drafting program, not last year, the previous year. And he was knew he wanted to become a mechanical engineer. So he did an internship for 5 weeks and he's like, oh, no way I want to do this. So he shifted and now he's going to school for political science. So it's like, afford them that opportunity now so that they're not doing it when they go to college. Exciting news, I did put in my Perkins grant for a work-based learning ELO part-time coordinator. That person is going to kind of run the day-to-day operations of these ELOs, because it's a lot of paperwork and it's a lot of reaching out to community partners and following up with students. So that work-based learning ELO coordinator is going to kind of take that off my plate hopefully a little bit. And then my hope for this year is to do an ELO showcase in the middle of the year and at the end of the year, because a lot of students do internships at the beginning or the second semester, and some do it all year. So I want to break it up so we have those that do in the fall can have a showcase in the winter, and then those that do in the spring can have a showcase in the spring. So. And then I did create a new website. It's not published yet, but just kind of talks about the different types of ELOs that we have. So the career exploration is a kid that comes to me and says, I have no idea what I want to do. So I put them on this program called Zello, which is free through the state of New Hampshire. And then if they like find something that they might be interested in, they go and do a job shadow, which is a day or two where they're just literally observing, watching. And then you go to an internship, whether it's unpaid or paid, where it's an extended opportunity where they go there on a more regular basis and they're working, but they're learning at the same time, right? And then the other ones are volunteer service, those kind of lie underneath the umbrella of the others.
Right.
Any questions about ELOs?
That's great.
Good.
Yeah, sounds great.
And then Tennille and I had the opportunity this year, so they created these graduation pathways. Traditionally we had the PRHS diploma, and then we had the New Hampshire State Standards, so we created these new honors and career ready pathways. Tennille and I ran a committee of 5 of us. Tennille and I and 2 teachers and a school counselor that met on a regular basis to talk about, you know, applications and decisions and how we're going to do this. This year was, you know, kind of our first year, so we're trying to figure things out. The pictures on the left and the right are 2 graduates that have our sashes that we created this year. Thank you to Nina Sargent for her work. It's incredible. But the honors pathways, we had 21 students graduate with honors distinction, and we had 38 graduate with the ELO, the career ready, 37 in CT and 1 in ELO.
Yeah, this was a pilot program that the board approved, so it is something that we would like to sustain and move forward with. It did go really well. I don't know if you could talk about the feedback that you got from parents or kids, or what folks thought of those different pathways.
So largely the feedback has been really positive. I think people are excited to show a distinction for their children and have a little bit of a acknowledgement of the hard work that they've done in the 4 years of high school. And it helps us hang on to our students, so we're not losing as many kids who say, I just want to go to work. We have the ability to kind of keep them under our umbrella and really give them some options, especially if they decide at some point it's not something they are interested in. I will point out that the one student in ELO is always going to be low because we want students in seats, but we also are creating this balancing act. We also want students to be able to explore opportunities that we just simply can't afford them, as Kyla was mentioning, at the high school. So that number will continue to be low because it's a huge commitment. It's 4 whole credits of time outside the building, and so that requires a lot of capacity to be independent and get to work, and for many of our students, as Todd will talk about, the amount of students we have who are athletes, and to try to balance something like this is quite the undertaking. So I don't want anybody to be discouraged by a low number. That will always be low, but it's by design.
Any questions on that? Is board have consensus with us moving forward? Is that as a continued program and get it out of the pilot status? Yes? Great, so we'll continue doing that. Great.
The sashes seem to be a really big hit with the students. They really like those.
The boards and the sashes are great.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, so switching over to me, mental health trends, and for me, the gist here is that more and more students continue to come see me. Generally, concerns are around anxiety, depression, and school stress. So that's not going anywhere anytime soon. However, I just want to highlight that students are self-advocating, and that's really important, and that they seem comfortable. And these numbers here are just me. They don't include the school counselors' data as well. So it's just something to point out there that students are having some concerns and they're accessing the appropriate individuals within the building for those concerns. So although the numbers are high, I think this also demonstrates that students are doing the right thing for themselves and for their peers.
Is it equal across genders?
That's a great question. I haven't looked at the data just as a head. No, there are more female students than male students who access, along with what is typical.
Is it worth creating language that's inclusive? Do we have language? Or how do students know to come see you?
So because I have kind of become morphed into the oversight freshman person, I do that blue night in the fall and in the spring, and freshman orientation. We provide a lot of information to students that way, just knowing where student services is, what it is, who it's for, and coordinating with the school counselors around that too, so they know who I am and who the school counseling team is. Second to that, teachers have been really helpful in sending students to the student support team, which I think Janet mentioned a little earlier. We meet weekly on students if we have a referral situation going on too. So there's lots of modalities, lots of ways for students to access us and know who we are. I think we also do a pretty good job of being visible in the building. I greet the students every day because I see a fraction of the students as in my professional capacity, right? I want them to know who I am as a student body. So I meet the students every day, greet the students every day, have lunch in the lunchroom every day, and we'll talk about our Bobcat intervention block in a little bit, but also provide intervention during that time too. So there's just a lot of different ways aside from going to the school psychologist. Seen more as an administrator and an adult helper in the building.
And really, as far as like school counseling and school psychologist, the role is very school-based, not clinical.
Yeah.
So having those limits, a lot of what Tennille will do or the other folks as part of that team will help coordinate services outside. So connect with whoever they need to connect with, whether in a hospital, but mental health facility, whatever. There's a lot of coordination there too, even with the court system.
Excuse me, Kyla. If anyone here has a Subaru that's parked at Rite Aid, they need to have it moved.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
What if it's a different car,
What if it's a different car, right?
This is all the ones at Rite Aid.
Oh, there's a lift going in.
Oh, okay.
No kidding.
It's you.
Oh.
I can see their car.
Sure. So I've been at Plymouth now for 10 years, and I think 9 or 10 of these years have been spent providing suicide prevention curriculum to all students. The way we do it now is to provide it to 9th grade students during their Bobcat intervention block. So there's 166 freshmen this year. They all receive the Science of Suicide Prevention curriculum, which means that essentially it just kind of gives them some language around what to do if they're worried about themselves or somebody else in terms of suicide. And I will say, peers, that we've had 22 reported suicide concerns, whether it was peer or self or teacher reports from this year. And so we manage that and handle that using this system. Any questions about that? And then this was a year for the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Every 2 years we're required to administer. And these bullet points here are the areas that are looked into. And the highlight I wanted to make about this data that's really helpful is that we utilize the information we get from the YRBS to provide speakers to come in and talk to the kids, just the ability to provide intervention and prevention for our students based on areas of need. So it's been really helpful over the years to have the data to back up when I go to the SAU and say, hey, we'd really love to do this. Can we tie our need to a specific area and get some help for that?
Yeah. It's usually an easy yes when you're writing a grant for some of those things too. So it's a huge data point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just in terms of special ed evaluation, referral to special ed, in the past several years here, I did 20 to 21 up until this past school year. In 2021, that school year, we had several referrals to special education. That's the COVID year, right, where we were concerned about learning loss. And what this graph shows in very simply is that although our numbers are going down in terms of referral, when we ultimately look at the data and what students need, we are still finding this pretty consistent number of a handful of students every year are getting finally caught in high school, acknowledge that they need some special ed support, and we have the ability to provide it then. But I do think this data will shift in the future here after we get through this 4 or 5 years of kiddos who were going into middle school from 5th grade to 8th grade during that COVID time. I think this might shift in a direction that we're looking for, but we'll see. And then just looking at Bobcat intervention block that I talked about a little bit earlier. These are you've seen this before from school board when we initially talked about the intervention block. I just wanted to highlight that this is what it looks like to staff and students. It will look different this year since we're utilizing a new platform with Alma, but that students have meeting with their their advisor once a week in general, and then they have these interventions, extensions, and enrichment options. Whereas Mary Beth, I was talking about, I catch some of my kiddos here in extensions every week. And this year, we're hoping that yellow earn time slot, that the kiddos who have earned time, which means earned the time to be free during this Bobcat block, that we scoop them up if they're interested in being peer mentors and peer supports, academic peer mentors for students. So teachers are interested in having some student help during this Bobcat block time, and I'm hoping that we can get some of those kids to engage in that way. So we'll see if they take us up on it, but that's the hope. Any questions about this? All right. So Janet talked a little bit earlier about student collaborative efforts. That in the fall we had freshman orientation, or in August rather, John's youth leadership through adventure students and this peer group of kiddos calling ourselves student buddies, or Bobcat buddies rather, who are leading freshman orientation. So they're leading student groups, they're greeting students as they come in and helping them get around the building and navigate the building. We also had 2 co-facilitated events during the school year for 9th graders who, the feedback from the 9th graders was really positive. They said, when can we do this again? They did some community building in small groups. And again, it's peer-led, student-led, so we're really hoping to continue with that model and boost that. And then again, as we talked about in the spring, our student-led capacity during Move Up Night has just increased over the years, and I think we're pretty much at capacity now, and have the ability to put students in charge of, again, helping students navigate the building and be a part of a peer panel and really help facilitate that time. Questions about those pieces? Okay. All right, Sean?
Trades Tuesday. So last year we piloted the Trades Tuesday. It was a collaboration between us, our school counseling department, myself, and the Rotary Club. And we did it for the spring. It was so successful that we brought it back for this entire school year. So every Tuesday we brought in someone to speak about their trade, whether it was an electrician, plumbing and heating, landscaping. It went beyond the trades. We brought Blue Mountain to talk about all the opportunities they have there, Waterville Valley. We brought in branches of the military to talk. So almost every Tuesday throughout the entire year. And we already have a list of tradespeople that want to come in and speak next year. Super successful. We had, sometimes it was a large group, sometimes a small group, but again, that could lead to some work-based learning or extended learning opportunities ties in with CTE programming. So it's super successful year doing that. I didn't even have to recruit. People heard about it and they reached out to me because they wanted to come in, speak to students, because everybody needs employees right now. So it's a good way to get that. Our Yalta group, so Youth Leadership Through Adventure. We didn't mention that. Yalta is Youth Leadership Through Adventure. This year we piloted a program. Service learning is a big component of Yalta. So service learning looks different. It could be facilitating small groups like they did for the 9th graders. It could look like facilitating activities for the local community, SAU 48 middle school students. So we took it next level with 4 of our seniors that were in the group and went to San Juan to do some service learning over April break. So we had students, the picture on the left down there is the outdoor library that they did. So they brought a couple of 100 pounds of books and added to this library, reorganized the library. The middle picture is them doing meals for seniors in the local community. And then the picture on the right, they did also have some fun and do some adventure-based activities, because that's what Yalta is all about. And this was a partnership with Ryan Carr, who's a local businessman and has a business that he runs out of Puerto Rico too.
Nice.
Our Wilds program, that is how our outdoor rec leadership program came to be. So it used to be just students that were at risk, and we provided this program to try to help them move from at risk to where we wanted them to be. But we kept the model for students that are either suspended or have a detention. So we run it weekly on Fridays, an alternative to detention, 2.5 hours. They go out with staff from ADAPT. They work on some mindfulness, journaling, talk about why they're in their detention, and do some adventure-based activity. We also use it as an alternative to suspension instead of just having a student sit in the in-school suspension room or at home alone. Any questions for me? I'm trying to speed things up.
No, that's good.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, over to athletics. So 24-25, it was kind of, when I was crunching the numbers on participation, there was one student off from the year before, which I thought was kind of cool. So the 428 is roughly 65.7% of our students participated in one sport or more. We encourage our kids to do at least 2 and hopefully 3. We try to be the top dog in 3 sport athletes, and typically we're in the top 3 in that. We had a couple teams win state championships. Girls Nordic skiing has been just a force in New Hampshire and beyond. Greg England is the coach. If you ever see Greg, he does a great job. Our girls nationwide are pretty well known. We had 2 athletes, a boy and a girl, go to the junior nationals out in, I believe it was Utah, from those teams. As you can see, the boys team were runner-ups. And you know, the Eastern Championships and all that were well represented. People from all across New England are very congratulatory and say great things about our team. Boys lacrosse won their first ever state championship. It was a great game. Went down to Laconia where the game was played Co-Brown. Co-Brown was undefeated. Coach Malsoff and his staff put a great game plan together and pulled out a 2-point win. Very exciting for them to win their first championship, so that was great. So future stuff, not to beat a dead horse, but I left up kind of the stuff we talked about most of the year last year. It's on the back burner for now, but just to leave it in our minds, it's up there. Some of the things that we are finishing from last year, the soccer lacrosse field fencing, I believe first week of August is going to get done over there. Around the baseball field, there's protective, topper, so the chain link, you don't get caught up in the chain link. Those are getting, I know we replaced those. The tennis court will be resurfaced. They fixed the sleeves that hold the nets in. They were just, because of the rainy spring, they've kind of pushed out as far as the work they can do on resurfacing those. Exciting news, I'm changing the color scheme to blue and gray, like the basketball court out back, to make it all kind of jive. So it won't be green on green anymore, but I think the kids will like that. Yeah, so I've been working on getting this app up and running since probably the new year, around January, working with Snap Raise, which is a fundraising platform that helps our teams do some fundraising. The fundraising eventually down the road will kind of support the cost of the app, but I just kind of wanted to go over what that will look like. I think I got to mirror this, maybe. So, you know, Janet mentioned it earlier, a lot of people aren't necessarily getting on computers and typing in web addresses anymore. So we wanted to kind of streamline the process for people to, even though it's not working right now, the screen. I'm not seeing that work.
Let me see if your Wi-Fi might have jumped off, so it'll be a second.
I'm the athletic director, not the tech guy.
Yeah, just be a second, your Wi-Fi jumped off.
Just saying.
Just, yeah, it's just not popping yet, but it'll be a second. Works great. Just not finding it yet.
It works, it's just
it
not
works.
casting across.
Here it is.
Us folks love this type of.
I know. Yeah. It's just a waiting game. It just found it. So just be a second. There you go. And you can be right now. Fine.
All right. All right. Says wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
I'm kind of nervous.
You can edit this film right there. All right, so this app will be live on, you know, in the App Store and wherever you get your apps from. Starting, I was hoping for today, so you all could be like the first ones to get it, but should be any day now. The company does have some marketing stuff they're going to send me, so once I get all that, we'll be blasting it out. We're going to send it in our mailing so parents and kids and everything can get this app. So basically everything from schedules to results to team announcements, we can add photos and everything to this, will be right here on this app. There's also going to be links to the web page and other things that I'll show you in a minute so people can access them. You hit the app, go to the link, boom, you can go right to wherever you got to go. So the Bobcat Den is what Janet mentioned. So in there, this is where we're going to put our our links for things to get to the website. We thought the freshman guide to start with would be important. This is on our website, but I think through the app, kids will and parents will be able to look at it be more readily available to them to look at. So it's all the things we want them to know, getting started, getting organized. If you want to be a class officer, there's a link there for that. One of our big things is you're a Bobcat now, so that's on there. You're not a Tiger, Fox, whatever else our elementary schools mascots are. Falcons, Warriors, yeah, Bears. So that's the freshman guide. School website, some of our social media. So I do a Bobcat Athletics Instagram and Facebook page. They'll live there if somebody wants to get that link. It's in there. Let's see. Head back home. There's live stream links under Watch. So we have the Huddle Cam that was mentioned. We can live stream directly through there, or Dan through Bobcat Media, or Pemi-Baker TV. You can live stream there. Have a store. Kyle opened it earlier, but it's a link right to the Sideline store. You can get any gear there. It's not team specific. You can add the teams that you like There's a little lag on this, but there it is. So you can pick, you know, your products you want, and make it however you want, whatever team. Yeah. I don't know why it's not working real great. It's a little slow going up there. It's working better on my phone, but anyway. Across the top, our upcoming games. So our first games are boys soccer, field hockey, girls soccer. They're all on the 29th of August. You can customize this if you have a son or daughter that plays field hockey in the fall, basketball in the winter, and lacrosse in the spring. You can just follow those sports. I follow them all because I'm the AD, so that's why I can see everything. Then each team has its own page. Right now the fall sports are kind of up and running, so you can go field hockey, it's up there. You can go to the level, so if your kid's a JV player, you can see when there's games there, as opposed to varsity. And then the team schedule is right here. And then as games finish, we can put the results in, so there'll be results listed in there as well. This little, they call this an ice cream cone, I guess, I heard the other day. This little thing up at the top, right? Did you know that? That's what the guy called it. It's not popping up on there. But that's where you would go to click on your teams that you want to follow. So it's on my phone. It's not up on the screen for some reason. So we're excited about that. Like I said, that'll be live soon with our mailing. Everything will be going out to the parents and the marketing and stuff like that. So there are some things that aren't on there yet that I'm thinking about adding. One is an athletic training page. I'm going to work with John Bruley. A lot of times when kids have significant injuries, I mean, they know we have an athletic trainer, but they just don't know what he offers in some of the stuff that he does for them. And they're always kind of surprised. And he does a great job getting kids back on the field and stuff. So putting that on there. I was thinking as Kyle was going through it, maybe put a link to the CTE pages so people can check that out as well on that podcast then. So we're excited about that. Once it's up and running, we'll blast out all the information and send it to you guys. So if you're interested, you can download it and have everything right there. So.
Right. Todd, is that something that you update? Who's updating all that?
So it goes through me. I'm hopefully going to have an ELO student. Last year, I had a great student, Tegan Hershey, helped me with some of my Instagram stuff, doing some pregame announcements and things like that. So I'm hoping to have an ELO student help me with that, just because it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
getting the results, because we want to keep it up to date.
Yeah.
You know, if it's lagging and something's missing, so that'll be important. When I cancel a game or something like that, we'll update it on here, so parents will get like a push notification to they'll go, oh, the game's canceled today, right? Yeah. So they'll know, and hopefully Ellen won't get 62 phone calls about and when it's a rainy day, is the game canceled or whatever. So we're hoping it's brand new, so there might be some kinks, but we're excited about getting it.
I think it's great.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. Great. Thanks, Todd. Any questions for Todd?
Sorry.
All right.
So I realize it's after 4, I'll be super fast, I talk fast, so that'll help. So our biggest thing for this year is we're switching to a new student information system called ALMA. So that's what we've been working on since last spring. That should be up and running any day now, so hopefully we're planning for around Monday.
So I'll be real quick on that. So we had Power School, as all of you know, there was a data breach with it, but at the same time, the state has gone to ALMA for all their state reporting, so we're just going to make the shift because it just aligns better with all of that.
Great job with that.
You get right.
A lot of work.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Still a lot of work.
Definitely. We're still continuing on doing the freshman Chromebooks, which Mrs. Wells kind of mentioned at the beginning, so the incoming freshmen get them still. They've been really enjoying that, and they use them all the way up to the end. We fixed everything in-house to save them money and not getting kind of warranties on them. Projectors we've been doing since COVID, they were in back order. It's our final phase being done right now. They'll be done next month. So those are all done. Everyone has an interactive projector now, so that took a while to get because we're waiting on it, basically waiting on the projectors.
And then, so for our August training days, like where school starts with the teachers, our main focus is gonna be on Alma. So like, you know, first day of school, they're not worried about taking attendance or putting in a grade or putting in an assignment, you know, just getting them familiar with it as much as we can. We'll have a lot of training on that for teachers right when we get, right before school starts. They did see a preview of it before school ended, but we didn't have any data in there for them to use at that moment, you know what I mean? So they've seen a preview, but they haven't used it yet. So that will be a big push right before August. And then the final one I put down, securely, which actually is spelled the way the company spells it, which is going to be really hard to explain to my teachers that they spell it wrong, but that's what we're using with Hallmark to do our Bobcat scheduling. It used to be adaptive schedule, and now it'll be securely. So we'll be training them on that as well, so they can actually go in and start working on that right when school starts as well. And then the next slide, Kyle, if you don't mind, please. It's just a little bit about Hallmark. You guys, I know you can read that, so it's just going to hopefully have more like state reporting is going to be easier, hopefully, that's what we've been told. We're going to have a big data lab in there. We really want to follow the kids like SAT scores, PSAT scores. We want everything in one spot. We don't want teachers logging into 6 different places to see Ames Web, PSAT, or SAS for Science. We want everything in one spot. So you can click on a kid and just kind of see a picture and not having to go to all these different places. So hopefully that is exactly what, hopefully this works out well. That's about it. If anyone has any questions.
Just with, there's another piece, cybersecurity. We've had some issues with students kind of following scams that can get into our emails and whatnot. Like, so we had an audit done across the SAU, and that's going to be, there's going to be teacher training with cybersecurity, and as I think you're rolling some stuff out with the students as well. It's there's no protection really against it.
It's really just increasing everyone's awareness.
Like, we're never going to ask for credit card numbers through Pemi-Baker.
Yeah.
We had kids lose money from it. I mean, it's one of those things that you can't, you know? So it's just one of those pieces to be aware, you know? That's it on that. Thanks, Kylie. Kristen.
Yes, last but not least.
Yeah.
Just at the top left, you can see our current special ed numbers. As we mentioned earlier, those are continuing to change throughout the summer. We have some new students enrolling, some students moving, but as of right now, we have seen an increase of 16 students compared to last year. So we have 14 students who are currently in the REACH program and 10 students in the CATS program. The CATS program is the post-secondary portion of our students with more severe disabilities. They're able to stay with us until they're 22. On the right side, you can see we are continuing to do the CAT supported ELOs. So really working to connect with our local community so that we can get those students out in our community with the support of a paraeducator or a job coach. We provide them transportation. We've had a lot of local businesses step up and allow these opportunities for our students, which has been huge. But as you can see, a lot of them are Plymouth-based, so we're looking to kind of build this a little more so that if we have students in Campton or Thornton, we can work with businesses more local to them, so that moving forward, after they do turn 22, if they can make a connection with that business partner, then hopefully they can continue to work with them moving on. I spent a lot of time with the New Hampshire Department of Ed this year. We have a bunch of indicators we go through every year. Indicator 13 is the transition portion. We are in 100% compliance, which is great. We're in the middle of doing it's called the PAG, Special Education Program Approval and General Supervision. This was a months long, just looking at our current programs. They did an on-site visit. They looked at all our documentation, paperwork. They looked through student files.
So Kristen's first year, she got complete compliance audit of the high school program. I can try and let you know along the way that she was a little bit busy with that.
And it's still, we're still working through it. We did just have our first meeting yesterday to go over the first report that was sent to us. And we did great at the high school. They were very impressed with the programs that we have and the opportunities that we provide to our students, as well as just the inclusiveness of our school and how everyone's involved. So things are looking good there. I know we already talked about just some highlights from the report that I could pull out now that were kind of set in stone. Dropout rate we talked about, and as you saw in the previous slides, you saw some of the certificate of completions. Those are a lot of times our 18 to 22-year-old students who, through our supported ELOs, are able to have meaningful employment after completion of high school. And also our participation rate for the 11th grade reading and math assessments is still higher than the state's for the last, I think it was 4 years. So we will continue working with the state. We'll get that final report, and I'm sure we'll share it with you at the next board meeting when it's ready. Great. Would you like the next slide? And then I just kind of wanted to focus on some of our positive and talk about the inclusivity that we have at the school. Special Olympics and Unified Sports, where we continue to be a Granite State Unified Champion School of Excellence. We have a whole, you can see on the right side, just the amount of athletes that are involved in our Unified Sports teams. We have a Unified Club. We send students to a youth leadership conference, and as mentioned earlier, we run a Unified Open House and Move Up Night. We did that for the second time this year. It really just gives the opportunity for not only the students to, with their peers, and connect, but also for parents to make connections with other parents, build those relationships, and just kind of have some support moving forward. And then, as you can see, whole school involvement. We continue to do the Penguin Plunge, spread the word to end the word. We had a fun unified basketball game versus staff. And then we also continue to offer unified classes for credit. We currently have PE, art, wellness, and then a unified living. So these are classes that are taken as peers and as mentors. So there's students that are working with our students who need some extra support in those classes to gain credit as well. Sorry, I think I also spoke very quickly. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions around special education?
Who won the basketball game?
Ooh, oh, good question.
The students.
Yeah, always the students.
Always win.
The coach for the staff team was there.
So I'm going to wrap it up with what's next, but I guess I just want, not that I have to say this out loud, but you can see that we are successful because we all bring our own area of expertise here to the regional high school. And I feel like the structure of this administration team is the reason that we can bring a day like this to you, because we all have a piece of the pie. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. You know, this is really a collective effort. I feel like this is a showcase to what regional education is all about. And I just wanted to make sure that, you know, I just kind of note that. I know you see a lot of me throughout the year, but I just kind of want the imprint of what I'm representing from here on to be reminded that it's probably, there's a lot of assistance to the principal in this room, I guess. So thank you for the day today. What's next for PRHS? I tried to give it to you in 3 C's. Fortunately or unfortunately, we are going to have to talk about the new RSA around cell phones. I did spend some time at a Lakes Region principals meeting today. High schools are grappling with how to do this, how to open school, how to manage it, how to be supportive rather than punitive about it. We will need to, at some point, adopt a school board policy. There is a model policy out there.
Probably on the 19th.
I'll bring more information to you, but just so you know, that will be, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at this, a hot topic for students and parents. So there's a whole lot of other things under community, but unfortunately, I do think that will take center stage when we return. So I just didn't want you to be surprised. Curriculum, again, you've heard all of these things about, you know, the curriculum, but one of the other things that we'll grapple with and sort of tease out is the new Ed 306 rules, which for the high school will have some implications about new graduation requirements for our incoming students in the fall.
So Ed 306 rules are the updated minimum standards for schools, which change graduation requirements.
So we have some guidance, we just haven't really talked about it yet. And then, you know, Kyla and I and the assistant superintendents, we went to a national conference this year in Texas, and it goes without saying that AI is here. And whether we like it or not, we have to recognize that, and we have to make sure that we are giving our kids the knowledge and the skills and the wherewithal to know that when they leave us, it's there. So again, there's a task force beginning in SAU 48 that's going to look at a framework, talk about implications for students, talk about teachers, so that we don't, again, move to the punitive measure of AI, similar to cell phones. We don't want to spend time trying to catch kids. We want to try to spend time empowering kids. In both topics, I think that's important. So just so you know, those will be bounced around. And again, lots of us go to national conferences this year. Some of these things you're hearing from our experience. We're also bringing in a speaker on the first day of school as a result to the national conference that Neil and Sean went to. So, we're trying to bring back some of the information we get when we leave here. And that just sense of belonging, I think it's a strength of Plymouth. People come, people stay, people feel like they belong. But again, just recognizing that every year we bring in those 7 groups of kids, and while we tell them they're Bobcats, we want them to feel they're Bobcats. Again, we're bringing in new staff. This year we're bringing in 4. Last year we brought in 7. So again, a little bit more turnover in this community in terms of educators than traditionally. So just that, we're going to sort of thread that through everything we do this year. So those are the few things I just wanted to put under your hat. And then speaking of tying it all together, community, mental health, response to kids and families, Plymouth High School had the opportunity to host this Highs Lows tour. It's a bike ride. It's been hosted in various locations. I learned last year that the board for the ride mostly are Plymouth Regional High School graduates. And they approached me last August asking if we would be interested in hosting. It's turning into a little bit of a reunion for some alum, which I think is also exciting. We don't have anything specific to alumni. There's not a reunion date for 5s, 10s like there is in other places. So I feel like this is sort of like beginning. Obviously, we're not really getting involved in that. We're just hosting it. So I just wanted you to be aware. It's next Saturday, the 9th. All of the proceeds go to the National Alliance for Mental Health. They have about 170 riders. Deb Underwood is the marshal, so she's going to kick off the ride. We have a high school student singing the national anthem. There'll be some food trucks. I think that you're going to, Mary Beth is on the
Community event at 11.
Yeah, so they'll be free.
They'll go until 4. And there's 3 separate rides of lengths. So you can do a 24, a 40, and a 100-miler. If you're feeling up to it. But it was organized with a lot of 80, 87, 86, and 88. It should be great.
Yeah.
There's almost 200 riders.
Yeah. And they're very excited to be back at the school.
Yeah.
They've come a number of times and walked the grounds and had their stories. And someone went to prom with someone else in the middle of this conversation. And it was just a really fun day. And I'm excited for them. And I'm excited for the school to kind of open our gates to that opportunity. So if you're around next Saturday, and there's a lot of people around, that's what's happening.
And there'll be a breakfast in the morning hosted by Alex Ray for the riders. Great. Thank you.
And that should be the last one. Yeah.
So that is it for our team. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you can see, they did a great job showcasing what's going well there. So I think that's good for you to hear every year.
Thank you.
They may leave, not the board or Janet, but thank you guys. I appreciate your time.
Great, thank you.